Barack Obama was his next closest rival at about 5,000 a day. If we have a look at Barack Obama, now I would think he would just be blitzing Ron Paul. Yeah. So we've seen that the tables have actually turned. Barack Obama is now getting 16,000, Ron Paul's only getting 5. November last year, that was reversed. What's interesting, though, is what happens if we put in John McCain, who is the presumptive nominee, because last year, around November, he was getting none. And in fact, I wasn't even searching for him. Well, he's getting more than Ron Paul now, but only just. And when you consider that he's getting all the press and all the media, and yet Ron Paul is still getting these searches. So this confirms, if you like, the data that we're seeing in Google Trends, the relative popularity of these candidates and how they're getting searched. And for comparison's sake, we may as well have a look at Hillary Clinton as well. Oh, not Clinton. And see what she's got to say. Well, okay, and that really confirms what we're seeing in the Google Trends data. Hillary's getting around 12,000, so relatively that's about right. But once again, the extraordinary thing is no press for Ron Paul, and yet he gets onto the New York Times bestseller list. So whilst we're told by the media that that particular candidate is irrelevant, the internet is telling us something different. Now, this is the first time I've seen something like this happen with the internet, which is why I wanted to share it with you, because I think we're actually witnessing a pivotal moment in history, regardless of what happens to the Ron Paul campaign. The numbers don't lie. We've seen the fact that the man gets onto the bestseller list and yet he's getting no press. That's pretty extraordinary in itself. So that only has to come from the internet. The other extraordinary thing that I found with the Ron Paul supporters is the meetup groups. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with meetup groups, but a meetup group is basically a physical meeting up of people. So it's a place where you could go, organise a group in your local area, and all the information about the meetup times for that group are in the area. So if we search for Ron Paul, I'll just see how many groups he's got. Ron Paul, there's one in Melbourne, Australia, for those of you that are interested. And interestingly, it has 42 members. But if we go to meetups by topic, and if we go, let's see, we can see Ron Paul down here somewhere, or politics. Ron Paul used to feature on the front page. He doesn't anymore. Languages, music. Probably should have prepared this earlier for you. Sorry if it's boring. We'll go Ron Paul. Back into the search phrase. Into the search box. But I'm going to show you the others as well at the moment. Now these are people that are physically getting together in their own time to talk about politicians, of all things. There we go, Ron Paul 2008. Let's go and have a look. It's only going to keep me in Melbourne because it knows that's where I am. Ron Paul near Melbourne. No, we don't want to see those people. All topic, US presidential candidate. Ron Paul meetups everywhere. That's what I want. Okay, this is the page I was looking for. Ron Paul, he's got 1,400 groups around the US. 1,400 groups. Have a look at Barack Obama. Mike Huckabee beats Barack Obama. He's not even running anymore. Hillary Clinton, 55. John Edwards, 21. Al Gore, who's not even running and hasn't even said he was going to run, 16. Bob Barr, who is a libertarian, running for the Libertarian Party, 13 meetups. I'm just looking for John McCain. He's not there, okay? So I find that extraordinary. These are people that are willing to give up their time. They have to, actually, I don't know how much it costs, but you have to pay something to set up one of these groups. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong. So these are people who have physically gone in and set up meetup groups, and they get together. Now, Barack Obama has 8,488 members only in 99 meetup groups. However, there are 3,500 people still waiting for a meetup group. Okay, so he's got about 11,000 people, volunteers, want to volunteer freely of their time to get together and help, presumably, Barack Obama. Now, what's interesting down here is have a look at this number. This will blow your mind. Wow, if you like data, anyway. Ron Paul has got 100,000 members in nearly 1,500 meetup groups, with 15,000 people waiting to get in, just waiting for a local meetup group, right? And directly below, we've got Rudy Giuliani, one member in one meetup group. That's funny. But once again, John McCain doesn't even exist. Now, what's happening now is that the Ron Paul supporters are using the internet to teach one another about the Republican Party voting and how they select candidates and delegates and all these other things. And I've just got to watch the time because I know we're going to get... I might have to cut this in 2 pieces to get it onto YouTube, but we'll see how we go. Now, what's extraordinary about that is that they're using the internet to teach one another how the delegate process works in the Republican Party. Because no doubt you may have heard the media say that he's the presumptive nominee, he's got all the delegates, all the primaries have happened, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's not as cut and dry than that. I don't pretend to understand all of it. But what I do know is that a lot of Ron Paul supporters are actually becoming the delegates of these state parties, because the way it's been explained to me is that each state in the US is its own separate party, so they have their own rules. So, just pick the Republican Party in California might have different rules to the Republican Party in New Hampshire and how they choose their delegates. And then there's a difference between bound delegates and unbound delegates. And just because John McCain has won the primaries, apparently it doesn't mean he wins the nomination. And there will be a Republican convention, I think it's in September. And at the moment, what all these Ron Paul supporters who are joining the Republican Party are trying to do is push for a speaking role at the convention for Ron Paul, which is really going to set the cat amongst the pigeons, because one of the, if you haven't guessed, I'm a bit of a Ron Paul fan, but the reason is mainly because of his monetary policy. He wants to abolish the Federal Reserve Bank. Anyway, look into it. I'm not getting into the politics of it now. But so that is quite an extraordinary thing. And some of the other extraordinary things he wants to do is abolish income tax and all sorts of things in the US. But essentially, he's coming from a libertarian perspective, but he is a Republican and a constitutionalist, I should say, as well. And that's what he gets down to. And he's been in politics for a long time, and he's got a fairly solid voting record. So fairly extraordinary when it comes to presidential candidates, I would have thought. But it's something to watch. Okay. Look, whether anything happens at the Republican convention or not doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that, we're seeing people get out of their homes and go and meet up all across the US for this guy. And when you look at it in comparison to the other candidates, he just blows them away. So it is something to watch, because the media either hasn't picked on it or they're ignoring him or whatever. But I'm less inclined to believe the media when it comes to the presidential campaign in the US at the moment, because there's a lot happening that you can find out on the internet that you just don't see in mainstream media. Hopefully that's been of some interest to you. What are the applications for you in search marketing and online marketing? Well, build a community, really. I mean, that's what it gets down to, doesn't it? And get your videos out there. Videos are very, very powerful, and one of the main reasons, apart from the message, one of the main things that started this well, they're calling it a revolution. In fact, Ron Paul's book is called The Revolution, a Manifesto. And one of the things that started all this was people putting videos on YouTube and getting them out to other people. And that John McCain one that is less than glowing, that's up there at the moment. At the end of you go and watch it. At the end of the credits, they say send this video to 10 people and get them to send it to 10 people. And it looks like people are doing it. And it's creative and it's funny, and the same applies to anything that you do with videos. Make sure they're creative and funny, and check your sources first. Don't go off to a web page when it's not there. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.